Why is the problem of disruptive foreign tourists gaining attention now? Why has the issue of disruptive foreign tourists become such a focus recently? A few years ago, we didn't often see such news, but now reports of tourist misbehavior in Japan have become common. One reason is the rise of visitors seeking viral fame by recording their extreme actions and sharing them online. For instance, at Kyoto's Fushimi Inari Shrine, the number of foreigners climbing and hanging from the torii gates has increased, which has caused a stir on social media. This kind of behavior reflects a lack of understanding of Japanese culture. How would you feel if you witnessed these actions? Impact on society and the tourism industry. How are these disruptive behaviors affecting Japanese society and the tourism industry? For example, in the popular tourist destination of Arashiyama, Kyoto, locals are growing frustrated with the behavior of some tourists, which has also led domestic travelers to avoid the area. The spirit of hospitality, so essential to Japanese tourism, is being compromised. How would you feel if something that had been cherished for generations was damaged by visitors? Unfortunately, that's the current reality in Japan, as some tourists disregard the cultural respect expected here. Factors behind the worsening situation. There are several reasons why the situation has escalated. First, Japan's legal system tends to be relatively lenient, especially regarding minor disturbances. Japan's police also generally prefer to engage in dialogue rather than strict enforcement, leading to the misconception that you won't get in trouble in Japan. For instance, actions that might result in fines or even arrest abroad often only result in a warning here. This leniency has fostered the image of Japan as a place where people can do whatever they want. Disrespectful behavior at cultural and tourist sites. Japan has many historical cultural sites and sacred locations, which are deeply meaningful to Japanese people. However, there has been an increase in cases of disrespectful behavior at these places. For instance, at the famous Fushimi Inari Shrine in Kyoto, tourists have been seen hanging from the torii gates and entering restricted areas, both of which are prohibited. These actions are shared widely on social media, spreading the impression that there's a lack of respect for Japanese culture. Some of you may have even seen such behavior in person, evoking frustration over the lack of cultural understanding. Public misbehavior and Japanese reactions. Incidents of misbehavior in public spaces, such as public transportation, are also on the rise. Japan's trains, where quiet and order are highly valued, have seen tourists engaging in disruptive behaviors, such as loud conversations and eating or drinking, which Japanese people generally avoid. According to one report, a local resident chose to get off the train because tourists were being too noisy. Many Japanese tend to avoid direct confrontation, which often leads tourists to misunderstand that no one minds their behavior. What would you do in this situation? Some people may find it difficult to address such actions directly. Exploiting Japan's legal loopholes. Unfortunately, there are also cases where tourists intentionally exploit Japan's lenient legal system. On social media, some tourists have shared that Japanese police are lenient and rarely make arrests, leading others to take advantage of this perception. For example, some tourists have returned home bragging about how they got away with it in Japan. This kind of information fuels the problem as more tourists come with the mindset that they can behave similarly without consequences. Inappropriate actions exploiting Japanese kindness. The kindness and hospitality of Japanese people can, unfortunately, be misused. Some tourists pretend to be lost or in need of help to exploit the goodwill of locals, while continuing disruptive behavior. Also, since Japanese people often avoid direct confrontation, some tourists interpret this as permission to keep acting out. Some of you may have experienced this abuse of kindness and felt discomfort over the misuse of Japanese generosity. Challenges in legal response and declining tourist morals. Japan's legal system struggles to address disruptive behavior strictly, which can worsen the moral decline of tourists. For instance, tourists who vandalize cultural assets may only face fines, which indirectly sends the message that it's no big deal. As a result, some tourists feel emboldened to act out even more. What do you think would be the best way to handle such behavior? The need for stronger penalties and police involvement. To address this issue of disruptive foreign tourists, stronger penalties are needed. For instance, introducing fines or detention for serious disruptive behavior and empowering police to take a firmer stance is crucial. While Japanese police prioritize a gentle approach, stricter action is necessary in severe cases. This change would help foreign tourists understand that you must follow the rules in Japan. Do you agree with these kinds of measures? Collaborative measures with the tourism industry. Collaboration with the tourism industry is also essential. For instance, providing information pamphlets at airports and hotels or having guides educate tourists on the importance of Japanese manners can be effective. Some tourist sites are also introducing rules to foster coexistence between locals and tourists. Many of you likely wish for more efforts to help visiting tourists understand and respect Japanese culture. Actions Japanese people can take with confidence. It's also important for Japanese people to act with confidence. For example, when witnessing misbehavior, clearly indicating that such behavior is unacceptable is essential. While avoiding direct confrontation, showing firm resolve can convey the message that foreigners must respect Japan's rules. Perhaps, taking a brave, firm stance is the first step in preserving Japanese culture. The value of Japanese culture to be conveyed to tourists. Conveying the value of Japanese culture to foreign tourists is also key to improving this situation. For instance, explaining the significance of rituals and traditions at shrines and temples makes it easier for visitors to understand why respect is important. When visitors learn about Japan's rich cultural heritage, they're more likely to behave respectfully. Don't you think it's essential for Japanese culture to be understood correctly? Working together with foreigners who love Japan. Finally, collaborating with foreign tourists who truly love and respect Japan is important. Such visitors can encourage others to respect Japan's manners, spreading a sense of cultural preservation. Let's work together with those who appreciate Japan, supporting efforts to cherish our culture.